it again, by the way, and that'll help for those who would like to listen to this again. Um, so we're in our fourth week of the quarter in TS 76. Here's the two things that are due this week. The first exam, which you're going to take in my Canvas class. You'll do it right in Canvas. Click on it where it says exam one. It opens up. I think I gave you like 2 hours to do it. Some of you will finish the exam in 30 minutes, okay? And some of you might take the full 2 hours. You get to use your calculator. Don't cheat, which means don't have somebody else try to help you do it. Do it by yourself. Yes, you can, Julie. You can use your notes. You can use your homework if you want to look at it. You can use your calculator. Anything that you want, that you've done in this class, you can use to help you on that exam. Okay. Now, the second thing that's due this week is your homework. And that is all of the WAMAP homework. I'm not WAMAP homework, sorry. All the book homework, okay, from chapter 1.2 through chapter 1.5. And it says it in my class, okay? So if I jump over here to this slideshow, and I can just kind of write some notes here. So in your book, I mean, in WAMAP, I'm sorry, in my Canvas class, it'll actually say this, okay? It says book homework, okay? And the reason I said that is because this homework came from the actual book. We just made copies for you, so you didn't have to pay for the book, okay? You're gonna turn in chapter 1.2 through 1.5, okay? You're going to turn it in my class. In fact, I think what I'm going to do for all of you right now is I'm going to go to my class and I'm going to show you where to turn this in, okay? So there's like no guessing. Hey, where do we turn that in, teacher? I didn't quite remember, okay? So if I open up my math class here, it's being slow. It's probably because I have stuff open here. So if you go into my class, and I said click on assignments first, so I click on assignments, and then once you do that in my TS76 class, it looks like this. It's nice and organized, week one, week two, week three. Here we are in week four, okay? You see that? We're in week four here on the screen. Turn in book homework, it says, right there. So you have exam one, you click on and take, you got turn in your book homework. And then you have a reminder to keep doing your WAMAP homework if you're not caught up. But these are the two things you're turning in, okay? You'll notice they're the two things with point values here, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on this and then it'll open up and you're gonna actually submit the assignment. There'll be a place, it'll be a little tab that says submit here. And what you're gonna do is you're saving all your book homework on one Word document or Microsoft Word or a Pages document, which is for Mac, or a Google Doc. You're going to save it all in one document. So it'll say your name, chapter 1.2, then all your answers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Then you'll type chapter 1.3 and your answers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, your answers for those, all on one document. And that way, when I go to grade it, all those chapters are on the document that again, you're going to upload by clicking right here in my Canvas class, okay? So that's where you will turn in that. And that's also where you're going to find the exam right here. All right, having said that, let's jump into talking a little bit about reviewing for the exam. All right, so again, I'm going to send this slideshow to your Everett Community College Gmail account, your email. So everything that you're going to see here tonight will be on that slideshow. So if you open up your school email, not your private email, but your school email, everything will be here for you to study, okay? But all I'm going to say on this first slide that has to do with adding, okay, you get to use your calculator. So you're going to punch in your calculator. You're going to hit that little fraction symbol on your calculator. It has an N over a D, and it's in the kind of upper left-hand corner. You're going to hit that. You're going to put the fraction 1/12. Then you're going to press the over arrow. Then you're going to press plus, and then you're going to create a fraction again, and it will get you 1 1/8. okay? So if you wanted to just write this down, 6/12 plus 5/8 equals 1 and 1/8, okay? Um, you're probably going to get 8, 9. It's probably going to look like this on your calculator, 9 over 8, okay? Um, but if you press, there's a button you can press on your calculator that will change it to, I think you hit second, and then you hit the button that will change a improper fraction to a mixed, okay? Now, here's the nice thing, okay? Um, when you take my exam, you're going to have multiple choice, A, B, C, and D, okay? And so you'll get to pick the right answer. So you won't be going, does Tim want a mixed answer here or does he want an improper fraction here? You'll have a choice and you'll be able to pick the one that matches your answer, okay? So that'll make it a lot easier, all right? All right. So adding fractions, by now you kind of know how to do this. You're doing them on a calculator, okay? If I was adding 7/9, number 3 here, 7/9 plus 3/5, okay? The answer would give me 1 and 17/45, okay? And if I was adding 16 over 24, or I'm sorry, subtracting minus 5/18, okay? That's going to give me 7/18. That should be the answer, okay? So if you just wanted a little bit of practice, um, I'm even going to do another one over here, the multiplication one here. If I was doing this in my head, I would cross cancel this to 1 and this to 3, and I would get 5 over 12, okay? And that would be the answer to 5/9 times 3/4. If I was doing it the long way, and I was doing number 11 down here, I would go like this, 12/16. You know, you could do it a lot faster on your calculator, but times the reciprocal, which would be 4 over 3. And this cancels out to 1 and 4, 1 and 4. Wow. Did I do that right? 1 and 4, 1 and 4. Yes, I did. This equals 4 over 4, which equals 1, okay? That should have been your answer on your calculator, okay? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because right by now, hopefully you know how to use your calculator and add and subtract. But you will have on your exam, you're going to have, I forget how many, but the first page is going to have some adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with fractions, okay? Use your calculator. Take your time though. All right, going to move on. You're also going to have a question. Now, you see how I wrote these numbers here, right here? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be quiet for about 30 seconds and just let you write down what you see on the screen here, okay? So I'll let you guys write. Okay. Let me talk about a little bit about converting numbers. You're going to have a couple of questions um, on your exam. They'll ask you to like write 4 and 2/3 as a decimal. Okay. Now, um, I do need to let you know that you actually have a button on your calculator that'll do it for you instantly. And I'm going to show you where it is on your calculator. If this is my beautifully drawn calculator here. If you have the TI-30 XS, okay, if you have this one, which is the one for my class, you're going to have down here, you're going to have a little enter key here. Okay. Now you're going to have that little key there. Right above it is a key that looks sort of like this. Okay, that's a key there. That key converts decimals to fractions or fractions to decimals. So if you put in your calculator, if I put this fraction in my calculator, 4 and 2/5, and so it's sitting on my screen here, and it says here in the screen here, if it says 4 and 2/5, okay, and I press enter, and there it is, 4 and 2/5. If I hit this key right here on my calculator, it'll change it to a decimal. Okay, so that's kind of like the fast way to do it. In my head, if I was doing this kind of in my head, I would convert this mixed fraction, which you probably learned in the last class, last quarter. I'd go 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22 over 5. And then I would just divide 5 into 22 on my calculator. 22 divided by 5 would give me 4.4. It would give me that decimal, okay? All right, write 12/8 as a decimal, okay? They want it as a decimal. If I divide on my calculator, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put 12 in my calculator, press divided by, and put 8, press equals, and it will give me this decimal, 1.5. Okay, that's how I would do that. If they ask me to write 0.36, this is a decimal, as a fraction, okay, I have a couple of options. I can do it the easy way. I could put in my calculator, I could put in 0.36, okay, and then press enter, and there it is, sitting there in the window up there. And then I could go over here and hit this little key here, and magically it'll turn it into a fraction, okay? Now, if I wanted to do it in my head, because I just like, I don't trust I'm pressing the right keys, here's how I would do this. I would go to the very last digit in the decimal, whatever the last digit is, and ask myself, what place is it in? It's in the hundreds place. It goes tenths, hundreds. This as a fraction is 36 over 100, all right? Now, if I reduce it in my head, okay, I know that 4 goes into 36 9 times, and 4 goes into 125 times, okay? It's just reducing. So as a fraction, that's probably what I should have gotten, okay? So that's how to convert fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions, okay? That's a little bit of review there. You got your notes here. I'm going to email this to you. Just make sure you know how to do this before you click on that exam. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to be quiet for about a minute or two, minute and a half, and let you just copy down this if you want, just copy this down. And if you don't need to copy it down, hey, you get to relax for a minute. I'm still here, guys. I'll give you another 20 seconds or so. Okay, guys. Um, so let me talk about how to do these types of equations, and you'll have a couple of these on your exam. Okay. And so the directions say complete questions 19 and 20. You'll get some questions like this using the following information. Okay, so a biscuit recipe calls for 3/5 cup of flour that makes 24 biscuits and makes 24 biscuits. Okay, so what this is a ratio of when I'm making, if I'm going to make 24 biscuits, I'm going to need 3/5 cups of flour. Boy, that doesn't seem like the right enough, does it? For those of you that bake, that doesn't seem like enough. Um, but if it did, uh, so the ratio here, it's a ratio of 3 cups flour. See how I wrote this over here? Okay, down here, I got 3/5 cup of flour. Okay, makes 24 biscuits. So I kept them flour here, biscuits here. Okay, all right. If you plan to make 60 biscuits, how many cups of flour do you need? All right. So I want you to notice what I did here. I'm going to take a different color here. I kept my biscuits on the same. I'm making a proportion here, so I kept my biscuits across from each other. 24 biscuits in the first recipe, but if I'm making 60 biscuits, how much flour do I need? That's the question mark. How much flour do I need? All right. So to solve this kind of equation where they give you a recipe that calls for this much, makes that much, but you want to make 60 of them, how much flour do you need? What you do is you set up a proportion. Remember I said ratio is two numbers, like the first two here, and a proportion is four numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4 here, okay? Um, and we keep our flour across from each other, our biscuits across from each other. All right, so here are the steps, and you can have these in your notes. You can use your notes, Julie, like you asked in the on the exam. Step one: set up a proportion. Okay, so here's your proportion right here. I set it up right there. Okay, there's my setting up of a proportion. Step two is to multiply the numbers across from each other. Okay, multiply across. So that means across. You see how these two I have numbers, but these two I don't. I have over here I have a question mark. Okay, so multiplying across, I would go like this: 3/5 times, okay, 60 over 1. That's cross multiplying here. Okay, I'm going to do my cross cancel trick and know that 5 goes into itself once and into 60 12 times. This gives me 36. All right. I cross multiplied. Okay. All right. Multiply the numbers across. Step 3, divide. Okay. So I've got this thing right here. I've got the number 36. What do I divide it by? Can you guess? Okay. You don't have to say it out loud because I'm making a recording here. But what do I divide it by? I divide it by the number that is left, not by the question mark. Okay. You can't divide a question into something, but by the number that's left. Okay. So in this case, 24 is left. So 24 into, so if this is like the fraction 36 over 24. Okay. 24 goes into it one time. How many are left over? Well, there's 6 plus 6 is 12. That doesn't seem right. Did I do some? Oh, I'm sorry. 24, it goes into it one time. That's 6, yeah, 12 over 24. Did you guys see how I did that? 24 goes into 36 only one time. and then there's 12 left over between them. That's the difference between them, over 24. And I know because I had TS60 and TS70, and I remember, oh, you got to reduce, okay? I can reduce 1 and 1220 down to 24 is down to 1.5, okay? So how many cups of flour do I need then? I need 1.5 cups if I'm going to make 60 biscuits, okay? That would be my final answer, okay? All right, that seems like a lot of steps. But that basically, if you just set up a proportion, these are the numbers they gave you first. 3/5 cups of flour makes 24 biscuits, okay? That's my first ratio right here, okay? And they give you 60 biscuits. Keep your biscuits in the same place here on the same side. And they want to know what's left. Cross multiply and just divide by the number that's left. Now, on your calculator, okay, hint, hint, on your calculator, multiplying 3/5 times 60 is going to go a lot faster. You're going to get a number, write it down on your paper. Divide it by 24, 60 by 24 on your calculator, going to go way faster, okay? All right, I'm going to move on because I've got lots of other things to talk about. All right, here is, I'm going to wait a few seconds for my internet to stabilize. Here is another example, okay? So if you feel like you got the other one down pretty good, great. If you just wanted to see another example, complete questions 21, 22 using the following information. A cookie recipe calls for 2/3 cups of sugar that makes 2 dozen cookies. Okay, so here's my first ratio right there. Okay, I'm going to write it down. Okay, 2/3 cup of sugar makes 2 dozen cookies. And if it said, okay, if they ask, what if you wanted to make 7 dozen cookies? Okay, how much sugar would you need? All right, you would do the same thing. I would cross multiply. First of all, first step one was to set up this proportion, two ratios, okay, equal each other. Step two is to cross multiply, okay? And then step three is to divide whatever number is left, okay? Those are your steps, which would be 2 dozen, and that'll tell you how many dozen you would need for your answer, okay? All right, I went through this slide real fast because I got a bunch more I want to talk about, and I already basically taught you on the previous slide, but I just wanted to show you another example. All right, this is a new kind of equation. And again, you have these questions, in case you're wondering, on that practice exam that I emailed you on Monday morning in your email, and I actually emailed it to both your private email and to your school email. You have these questions. So you see how here I've got, say question number 7, and this is question number 9. That matches up with the practice exam that I email. Okay. But I want to talk to you about how to do this. It just seems like there's too many words here for you to copy all this down. So I think for the sake of time tonight, I'm just going to explain how to do it. Watch, listen on this slide, and like I said, I'll email him. All right, Samson uses 5/6 gallon of paint. He's got a gallon of paint. He uses 5/6 of it. Okay, you'll notice that I put a little th in it when I set it up. 5/6, which means not all of it, but 5/6. Okay, gallon of paint when remodeling his office. He wants to know what percent, I'm modeling for you guys, how if you get a chance to and you have paper test, highlight things like this. What percent? So this is my answer, it's got to be a percent. What percent of paint is remaining? Again, notice what I'm underlining. What's remaining? What is the percent remaining in the can? Write your answer to the nearest tenth. Teacher says I have to answer it to the nearest tenth. Okay, and again, the answer is a percent. All right. So a model for you how to break down a story question is to underline or highlight the key ideas. Here's how you would do this. He uses 5/6 of a gallon, okay, of this gallon of paint. And, well, I'll just draw my quick gallon. This is my gallon of paint here. He uses, okay, 5/6 of it. How much is left? Because that's what it said. How much is remaining here, okay? And remaining means how much is left. Well, if he uses 5 out of 6 pieces, there's only 1/6 left. 1 out of 6 left. You'll notice if I add these, okay, 5 6 plus 1 6 gives me 6 over 6, which is 1 whole gallon, okay? All right, so this is how much is left right here, 1 6. But my teacher warned me, wait, it's asking for a percent, okay? What percent of is remaining? How do you change a fraction to a percent? Here's what I would do. I would go like this. I would divide, you guys know by now that to um, to change a fraction to a decimal, you divide the bottom number and the top number. So if I take on my calculator and do 1 down 6 over, I got 1 6, okay? I'm sorry, 1 divided by 6. What was I thinking? 1 divided by 6 equals, here's what I get on my calculator. Hopefully you guys got the same thing if you have your calculator. I got 0.16666, and it keeps going on, okay? All right. Now here's why I stopped right there. That's what I got on my calculator, okay? But it said to the nearest tenth. This is why I underlined that, okay? What number in the actual problem is in the tens place? It goes tens, hundreds. This number right here is in the 10th place. The next number is the 100th place. Because 6 is 5 or more, this becomes 0.2, okay? All right. Now, as a decimal, that's 0.2. But I'm just going to fill in a 0 here just because it'll help me with my next step. So here's what I just did. If I call it step 1, okay, I converted a fraction, this is what was left, 1 6, to a decimal, okay, to a decimal, okay? Now, if you recall in my class, one of the things I really emphasized like last week and in your homework, changing decimals to a percent. How do you do that? Well, first thing we did was we changed it to the nearest 10th place, and then to convert a decimal, here's my decimal, to a percent, I moved the decimal point 2 places, which means 20%. Okay, so my answer, and again, you'll get to pick A, B, C, or D on the test, is 20% of the can is left. Okay, so that's how you would handle that problem. All right, let's do another one that's kind of similar. Samson uses something gallon of paint, okay, when he's around his office. You know, I'm going to just say, let's say, let's do it like this. Let's say 3/4, okay. Okay, because I could see that I missed typing it in here, adding that number. Samson uses 3/4 gallon of paint. That's probably not the right one that was actually on your practice test. Does anybody happen to have your practice test in front of you? I don't know if you do or not, but if you do, maybe you could tell me. But he uses let's say it was 3/4, okay? He wants to know what percent of the paint is remaining. Well, if 3/4 is how much he used, that means he's got 1/4 left, okay? Okay, and write your answer as a percent, okay, to the nearest tenth, okay? Well, if I divide 4 into 1, I'm going to get 0.25, okay? All right. And what percent that is, move the decimal point 2 places, that is 25% is remaining. There's my answer, okay? So anyway, those are 2 examples of when they give you this kind of problem, they say, I used this much, how much is left? Well, that's how you would figure out how much is left. And then turn that to a decimal, pause, turn the decimal to a percent. All right, moving on for the sake of time. All right, this is a real important problem. You're going to have 1 or 2 like this on the test, and you did have 1 or 2 like this in your homework. So what I'm going to do is be quiet. How am I doing for time? We're just going to be tight. I'm gonna just talk to you about how to do this, okay? Hopefully you have the printed copy of this in front of you. You actually did homework like this, and I showed you how to do it last week in Zoom here on Tuesday night, okay? But I'm going to show you once again, okay, how to do this. The following tables show the number of survey respondents on their favorite ways to communicate with their friends. Change each frequency to a relative frequency. So they want a relative frequency. And we know relative frequency are percents, okay? Complete each total column and round each number to the nearest tenth. Again, do you see how I'm modeling? They're asking, I don't want to forget that they want the answer to the nearest tenth. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I got 45 people that said that they like to communicate in person, and then 69 telephone, 147 texting, etc. All right, if I take my calculator and add up all those numbers, and you can do this right now too, plus 69 plus 147 plus 97 equals 358. This is what, because what you see on the screen is what you're going to see on your test. It'll be blank over here. You're going to have to add up all the totals and get 358. Okay. All right. Now, that is the total out of 358 people, respondents. They want to know the relative frequency of each type of communication preference. Okay. So the way you figure out relative frequency, okay, is you divide, you have a fraction. You take the part that they gave you. This is the part, okay, the 45 people out of the whole divided by the whole, okay? And the whole is, if I draw my arrow over here, is this, okay? If I take, okay, I'm going to write it a little bit smaller over here, 45 over 358. You guys can do this right now on your calculator. 45 divided by 358 equals, I'm going to write this down here for you guys to see this. It's going to be 0.12, where am I here? 56. All right, I just wrote out all these numbers here, okay? All right, if I rounded that to the nearest 10th place, all right, one way to do it is convert, this is a decimal, convert it to a percent. I would move it 2 places, okay? That becomes 12.56. You guys following me here? I took this fraction. If I wanted to write this as step A, I took the fraction, I turned it to a decimal, and I turned the decimal to a percent by moving it 2 places. I get 12.56. Now, would that be my final answer? No, because the question asked me to do it to the nearest 10th place here. What number is in the 10th place? This number right here, that's the 10th place. This next number is 5 or more. So my real final answer is 12.6, okay, percent. All right. So on my chart, I would write in 12.6%. 12.6% of the people prefer to talk to people in person, okay? Now, for the sake of time here, I'm going to move on, but for each category, what you're going to do is the next one, you're going to do 69. Man, I'm not very good at writing with this kind of a board here. I'll get better at it. Over 358. And you're going to do the calculations. This is going to be 147 over 358, okay? And the same with this is 97 over 358. All right, turn that into a decimal, turn it into percent, and you got the percentages. Make sure you round it to the nearest tenth. All right, you guys got it? Now on my slide here, just so you guys can check your work, I actually included the answers so you could see how you did by calculating it here, but I just wanted you to be able to see that. All right, guys, for the sake of time, because I don't want to run out of time here, I'm going to move on. Ali wants to purchase 7 nice pounds of almonds from a local market How would this be written as a decimal? They want a decimal answer, and they want it to the nearest hundredth place, okay? So again, you guys can do this right now. See if you guys figure this out right. 7/9 as a decimal. If I divide 7 divided by 9, it equals this, 0.7777, and it keeps going on, okay? Now here's the reason why I wrote a bunch of sevens, because it wants it to the nearest hundredth place. So if I model for you, if I was doing this test, I would take my calculator answer, I'd write this on the screen, I would go hundredth place, I would underline the hundredth place, that's the hundredth place. I would look to the right here, that's 5 or more, so it's 0.78, okay? That is the place, and I'm gonna change this into a percent. So if I move it over here, it's 78. Okay, if we move it over here like this, actually, I probably shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Let me go like this. If I go 0.77, I'm going to go like this, equals, okay, 77.777%. Yep, there are sevens over here. All right. Yeah. So that's the percentage, and I have to do this to the nearest hundredth place. That's right here. Okay. So that equals 70.778, because that's the hundredth place, percent. Okay. So that would be my answer. I would have gotten the same thing. Actually, no, by rounding it first, I messed things up here. So I'm going to go like this. Sorry. Take your decimal, turn it into a percent first, and then round it to the nearest hundredth place. Okay. All right. Having said that, I'm going to move on for the sake of time. Got to make sure I get through everything here, and I've got 15 minutes. Isabel is measuring the diameter of a rod. If the diameter of a rod is this right here, 0.625, what is this measurement as a fraction? The teacher wants a fraction as an answer, okay? Easy way to do it is put that in your calculator and then press that switch button. So if you do 0.625, press enter, and then press that convert button, okay? It's going to convert it to 5/8, okay? All right, that's what it'll do the fast way. That's the reduced version. The long version would be to go, well, this is 625. That 5 is in the thousands place. This is 625 over 1,000. And then you'd have to start reducing all that down to all the way down to 5. It gets you all the way down to 5/8, okay? But as a fraction, it is 625 over 1,000. All right, so that's, again, all we're doing is converting a decimal into a fraction, okay? All right, next problem. Yeah, this is one about taxes. How are we doing for time? 15 minutes. I think we're gonna be okay here. All right. Okay, a family has an annual income of $43,500. Of this amount, 1/6 is spent on food, 1/7 on utilities, 1/3 on rent, 1/7 on saving, and 1/5 on taxes. Okay. Answer the questions 36, 37 using these totals. Round your answers to the nearest cent. Nearest cent they want. That's the cent. Okay. How much is spent on food each year? Okay. So here's how you would figure this out. They want to know how much they spent on food. Okay. In the equation here, I'm going to go up here and draw an arrow here. 1/6 is spent on food each year. So how do I figure out how much money that is? Here's what I do. I take their total amount that they have a year. This is their income, $43,500. If I put it like this, over 1 times 1/6, right? 1/6 equals, it's clear. Do that on your calculator. Go 4,3,500 times a fraction 1/6. Press over, press enter, and I get a lot of money on food, $7,250 on food. Now, that's what I get. It says to answer this thing to the nearest cent. Well, I didn't get any. It was just a whole number here. There was no cents, so that would be my answer. Okay, but next one, how much is spent on savings here? Okay, how much is in savings? Well, how much do they give you on savings? Let's see here. Rent and on savings is 1/7 on savings. I'm going to draw an arrow here. 1/7 is spent on saving. Okay, so I would go like this: 4, 3, 5. This is their income times 1/7, and that will give me their savings. Okay, and then what I'm going to make sure I do is make sure that I double check, because if I have cents and pennies, I want to be sure I round it to the nearest cent, because it's asking for the nearest cent. Okay, all right, that is how you would do that kind of equation. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. And the Red Sox, the 1979 baseball season consisted of 87 wins and 78 losses. Write a ratio. Again, I'm modeling for you. They want a ratio. That's the answer, is a ratio that represents wins to losses. And we learned a week or so ago about ratios, okay? It says they have 87 wins. There's my first number, 87, colon, that's called a colon in English, and then to losses, 78 losses. There's my ratio of 87 to 78. Another way to write that would have been 87 over 78. That's also a ratio, okay? Or I could have spelled out 87 to 78. But this right here, ratio symbol, is kind of the easiest way to do that. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty good. How am I doing for time? Hey, I have 10 minutes. I'm going to pause for about 40 seconds in case you wanted to write this down. Okay. I also want to say this, because there might be a couple of you that are kind of stressing out right now because you're thinking, teacher, I can't write this down this fast. I need more time. Here is the good answer to this. You have the document I sent you on Monday that has all the practice questions, okay? It also has all the answers, I think, right on the question, okay? So that's kind of helpful. And in many cases, I think it actually shows how to do the math, how to do it. So that's helpful. Additionally, if I was you studying, doing the practice test, I wouldn't do them all because there's like 40 problems on there. I would just do like the odds, or it makes sure you know how to do each type of question. And that's what I'm doing tonight, is I'm going through each type of question that's on the exam. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and finish things up here tonight and talk about a couple of other things here. This equation here, if you do nothing else tonight, I'm going to give you a minute to copy down this slide, because this is actually a question on the first exam that was created by the college, but they didn't really teach it this very well in the book. And there's at least one of you that asked me, how do I do this type of problem? And I said, hey, come to class Tuesday night and I will show you how to do this, okay? All right. And you'll have your notes, so you can just, when you get to this one on your test, just go, okay, I'm going to follow my notes, follow the formula, and do all this. Okay, I hope you guys are doing okay. Let's talk about how to do this, this type of a problem here. Um, so a furniture store has 72 chairs. Okay, I got 72 total, but they have a ratio of 5 kitchen chairs to every 4 bar stools. How many chairs do they have of each? Okay, and so how would you figure this out? Well, first of all, whatever we figure out for a ratio, the total amount is going to be 72. You that's how many we're going to have. We're adding them all up, okay? But it says that the ratio is 5 kitchen chairs to 4 bar stools. Here's how you do it. There's a little formula here. If you want to write this down in your notes here, okay? This is the formula for figuring out this kind of a ratio problem. You put the total, okay, and that's what this is, the total, divided by the ratio numbers, okay? And this is the ratios. Yeah, this is a ratio of 5 to 4, right? If I wrote it out like this, it's 5 to 4, okay? Or 5/4, okay? Um, so what you do is you add those new two numbers up, okay? Um, so if I did the math here, remember PEMDAS, do it's in parentheses for 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 goes into 7, 9 divided by 72, okay, or 72 divided by 9 is 8, okay? So that gives me 8. So again, here's what I did. I put the total amount they gave you, okay, the total from this equation, divided by, that's my formula, and I take the ratio numbers, I add them up, okay? So add those up and divide that into the total, and I get a number of 8. All right. I take that 8 and then I just multiply it by my ratio numbers. Okay. 8, there were 5 chairs. Okay, it's a ratio of 5 chairs to 4 bar stools. 5 times 8 is 40. There'll be 40 kitchen stairs. 5 to 4, there's 4 bar stools for every 5 chairs. So I take 4 times 8 is 32. Okay. That answered the question. How many do they have of each type of chair? Okay. If I add these up, okay, if I add them all up, I get 72, which is the total I started with, 72 of chairs. Okay. So here's what I want to say about this. Don't panic and don't go, how am I going to remember this the rest of my life? Or am I going to have to know this next year or next class? Not necessarily. The teacher might give it to you, these formulas, but there's the formula. Okay. I gave it to you right there. So you can, here is your formula. Basically take the total divided by the ratio added up and you get a number and then multiply that times the ratio numbers. And that'll give you how many of each type there are. Okay. All right, going on to my last 2 slides here. Whoa, what happened there? That's always fun when I press something and get something else. I don't think I'm not even sharing it. Let me go back to this share. All right. Okay, sorry. Um, okay, this is a proportion problem, and we learn how to do this. If they ask you, for instance, is 2/3 the same as 6/12 or 6/8, say for instance, are those two ratios proportional, okay? Then I would cross multiply. I would go 8 times 2 is, so I'm just drawing this down here, okay? If they're asking if two ratios and I'm cross multiplying here, okay? 8 times 2 is 16 and 3 times 6 is 18. So here's what I would say. If they ask me right here, are these two ratios proportional? I would set them up next to each other, cross multiply. And if I got different answers, I would say this, no, they're not proportional, okay? That's how I would write that. They're not proportional. All right. So it says to confirm, it says the quantities are proportional using the following rates. Okay, if I went 97 miles per miles, these are miles, in 4.5 hours, is that proportional to 170.2 miles in 8 hours? Okay, are these proportional? Well, I'm going to punch it in my calculator and cross multiply. Okay, and if I get the exact same answer, I'm going to say yes, they're proportional. If I get a different answer, I'm going to say no, not proportional. Okay, that's how I would do if they ask if things are proportional. I put them side by side and I cross multiply. All right, last slide here, guys. Here we go. Oh, it's blank. Okay, I had a blank slide, so I can go back to this one. All right. How am I doing for time? I have exactly a minute and a half. That's amazing. So a couple of reminders. First of all, you have two things due this week, guys. Okay. You have two things due. And I'm going to stop my recording so that if you would want to stop.